once you do Flutter create, it's what I have, and then just remove the template code which comes by default. I'm trying to share my mobile quickly. Goodness. Man, just a second. Dash S. Man, probably should have done this before. Are you kidding me? Okay. Admit. Okay. Right, dash. Awesome, cool. We have the phone here. Right. So, yeah, apologies if I'm messing up a little bit, but this is one of the first times I've been here. I'm also used to it, but then hopefully I'll be clear in what I'm saying. Right. So before we go ahead and start, it's always a good idea to plan out ahead as to what you'll be writing. Instead of just starting to build out this UI, you'll first want to plan it out. And that's what I've gone ahead and just sort of mapped out how we are going to tackle this, right? So one of the first things, okay, we'll start from top down, top to bottom, right? And essentially, when for instance, when a designer brings you the UI and you're a Flutter developer, what do you do first of all? So you look at it, and then you'll realize that, okay, this screen goes from top to bottom. So essentially, you can tell that this is a column in a way. Okay, this is a column, right? And how will you divide this screen, right? So the way you will divide this screen of yours, this column of yours, is that you will have a row, right? And then in this row, you'll put an image, right? But then you'll want your image to be on the right, so you'll have to align it to the right side. So after that, you just place the image, a text field, and this card right here, which you can make on your own, or it depends on how you want to go ahead with it. Right. So I'll be starting off with this part here at the top right here. Okay. And if I am not clear or anything, just you may stop me at any point. Right. So as we all know, we'll first need a home page, that is, right? So while that's running, we'll go ahead. Oh my gosh. We'll go ahead and make our homepage, and our homepage will be a stateless widget. The reason it's stateless is that because we are not really keeping any state in this app, the one we're going to make. That can come at a later stage on first device, right? And we're going to call it homepage, right? All right. So for the most part, you don't really need to understand this part. You'll hardly ever get to write it. I don't even memorize what the heck this is. But then the plugin fills that in for you. So all you have to do is specify your homepage, and this part here is the most important part of your right. So first thing first, you'll first wanna get a scaffold. Okay. Now what the scaffold is essentially just the building blocks of your app. Okay. Alright. So a scaffold is the building block. Damn it, what's happening? So a scaffold is essentially just the structure which gives structure to your app. Okay. And this is where you will get to start though, man. Okay. And one of the attributes of the scaffold is a home. Okay. And as discussed before, our home, darn it. I don't know why live demos always fail. I don't know why. My gosh. Man, apologies for this. But then essentially I think we can go ahead and look at what we have here. So essentially we have our column. Our home page is a column. Okay. Our home page is a column. Okay. And the column expects children. Body, sorry. A column expects children. Oh my gosh. Right. And in our column, what we'll have is we'll have a row. Okay. We'll have a row, and the row expects also children. Right. So far so good. And in our row right here we have an image in it. Okay, we have an image in here, and our image is a profile picture. So the picture I'll use here, I'll be using my own picture, but then you can use your own. Okay. And I'll be getting it from the internet, so I'll be using image.network, and you'll need to give it a source. Right. Let me quickly grab my picture from here. Damn it. So grab my picture, put it there, and man, I know why Gradle is failing at this point. I could share the code base though, that I think I'll be able to do for the finished one, for the finished application, and then you see. Right. And from here we can tell that our picture or our image is over on the left, so we'd want to realign it to the right. Now the way you will do that in Flutter is you would row as something called a main axis alignment. Okay, so the main axis, so a main axis is the main axis for a row is horizontal, but for a column it's vertical. It's just the main axis alignment, and you can read the documentation of it over here. So by default it's on the start, which is why you see it over on the left, which is the start. So we'll want to go ahead and set it to the end. Okay, so we just set the main axis alignment to the end. Reload this, hot reload, and there we go. We have our image over there. Right. So the following thing, if we had to look over on the photos here, or the guide we have, is that we have the Google logo here. Right. Now, how do we do this? So essentially, I will just go ahead and yank it out of google.com. So I'll go to google.com, developer tools, take the image source, and just copy its link. Okay, do that. And outside of the row, as you can tell in here, outside of the row, that's where we would place our Google image. Okay, essentially you could also write it out yourself and also rotate this text on your own, but then for the sake of keeping it straight to the point, case in point, we'll use an image. Okay, an image. Right, so we'll use an image dot network. So our image is network image, and save this and reload, and there is our Google text or image. Right, so I see that this is a bit too large, so I'll do the same thing I did with the profile picture. So I'll set its width to, I don't know, 150 pixels, and the height, I'll set the height to maybe 100 pixels. Right, how does this look? Reload this. A bit tiny, but it's coming along. 120 perhaps, and much better, I would say. How does it look like in real life? Okay, looking at it with my eyes, it looks fine. Though I think I would be comfortable if I maybe make this 125 height. Hello? Okay, good. Okay, that looks fine, I would say. But then if we had to look here in our design guide, we have some spacing between our row and our image. We have this space over here, which the user cannot see. So we need some sort of some invisible widget there, which we can give a height and so forth. Now for that, we'll use something called the sized box. Yeah, a sized box, and we can go ahead and give this a height, and let's just give it a height of perhaps 50 pixels. Right, 50 pixels. Reload this, and okay, we can tell our image is lower now, and I'm fine with this. I can live with this height. Okay, good. Oh, we also we'll get back to the profile picture. It's a bit squarish, and yeah, we'll get to making this more rounded. Okay, we'll get to that, but then for now I would want to go ahead and do the text field. Right, so for the text field we have it's obvious. Okay, we have a text field, right? If I get to type this right, okay, we have a text field, and if we reload this, there we have it. We already have our text field over there, done and dusted. Now a text field has what we call a decoration. Okay, the decoration is where you get to put all the things you see in here. So it's where you can give it this border right here, so you can give it this prefix icon, the hint text, and then this suffix things right here. You can put whatever you want there, right? If you want, you could put an image here. You could put literally whatever you want, since it expects a widget, and everything in Flutter is a widget. So even if you wanted, you could put text here. Whatever is on your mind, you can put it there. Right. So let's say you're new to this, and then you're like, okay, what is a decoration? What should I put here? Now, if you hover over it and look at the documentation here or the hint text, it will tell you what to put there, right? So it expects an input decoration, okay? And you don't need to memorize or remember really these things much. If you go on Google and search up Flutter text field decoration, you will find it quickly, right? But then sometimes it's good to write it out on your own, just to see how far you'll go. Okay, good. And the first thing we'll want to do is give it a border here. Give it this border. Okay, so let's go ahead and give it a border. And what is a border supposed to be? So if we look in the documentation again, it says that you can have an underlined input border, which I believe is a default, or you can have an outlined input border, which will draw a circle, which will draw a line around your text field. So we'll go ahead and do an outline input border. Okay, outline input border. Okay, right. And what does it expect? So if you look at it, it expects okay, let me save this, and then just so we see it reflect on the phone. You can see it over there. There is our border around our text field. Now we want to give it more curve, and then according to the documentation, it has a border radius. Border radius, which is essentially just a border radius. Cool. So we can give it a border radius dot. I'm giving it circular. You can read more into what this means, but once hovering over them, and I'll just give this a random radius of 30, and let's see if this looks fine once we reload it. And I think I can live with this. Now we can see that our text field is taking up the whole width of the screen, right? We want it to be sort of according to our thing here, our guideline, to be at least not so much taking up the entire space, the entire thing. What we can do is wrap this in a sized box, because remember, a sized box, okay, it's just creates a sized box. Oh my god. Okay, that's not the best way to explain it, but then really we can wrap this in what is called the sized box right over here, and we'll limit its width. We'll give it a width of 95. We want to give it a width of 95% of the screen. Now, how will we get to know the width of the screen? Well, that's where this thing called the media query comes in. Okay, media query.of context size width. So this is the width of the entire screen. Okay, and what we'll want to do is multiply this by 0.95, which will be 95% of the entire width of the screen. Right, so if we reload this, we can see immediately that takes up, okay, good, 95%. Right, so let's look at what our designer gave us. Our designer says they want the search text to be in there as a hint text. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put our hint text in there, and it will just say search. Okay, 1, 2, 3, put dots. Good. Alright, and of course you can stop me at any time if I'm not clear on something, or if I'm off topic a bit. Yeah. Alright, and now we want to put an icon as a leading thing right here, right? Good. So what we can do is, if we do control space and look at the options we are given, if you keep scrolling, you'll see that we have what we call a prefix icon. So you can either have a prefix, which would really just be a widget of your own, or you can use a prefix icon where you get to put an icon. Okay, so we'll put an icon, and we'll use the search icon. Right. reload this, and there we have it. We have our search icon there, and of course you can click in here and start typing, right? But then we are not going to type for now. We are to put in this part over here, this, the Google Voice and the Google Lens icon or images, right? And again, these are, if you look at it, this is sort of a suffix coming from English, so it's at the end, right? So at the end, at the suffix, now suffix we want at the end, really we want there to be a row. Now why do we say we want a row there? Well, necessarily just because these two widgets right here, these two images, they're in a row essentially, right? Okay, and their width is limited, so they are not okay. All right, so essentially they're in a row. Okay, good. And let's go ahead and put children. Of course it expects children, and we'll have an image here from the network, and this image will be that of Google Voice. And let's just get the Google Voice icon, Google Voice search icon. Okay, images, and I think this one would work. I'm necessarily looking for a transparent one. Google Voice transparent. This looks transparent to me, so we could use that. Okay, yeah, we can use this. So let me just do this and yank its source. Okay, so we have our picture there. Let's reload this to see how it looks like so far. And okay, look, essentially it's too large. Even in the logs here it says, yo bruh, your thing is too large, please limit it, or something like that. Okay, good. So we'll give it a width of, I would say maybe 30 pixels and a height of 30 pixels too. Okay, 40. Let's reload this. Goodness, why is it not loading? Okay, gosh, probably my internet taking some time, taking its time. Okay, this looks too huge. Let's give it 20 and 30. Reload this. Done it. Okay, let me use a different picture. And just paste this, reload, and it reloaded, and our picture is not showing. Gosh, what's going on? Let's hot restart it. Potentially why it's not showing up. Okay, not so sure. Oh yeah, that's because essentially we didn't give it perhaps main axis alignment, or yeah, so we want it to be aligned to the right, which is in this case the end. Okay, and essentially this, since this is theoretically taking up the entire space, we would want to wrap it in a sized box, so we just limit its width to certain. Wait, so let's just give it a color quickly, just so we know what what space this is taking up. Okay, let's reload. Okay, good. So we can tell that, okay, so far it's taking up this much space, which is why it's covering up the other text. So we'll want to give it a width of maybe, let's say, 120 pixels wide. Okay, I'll reload this, and now we can see our text is showing again. Yeah, so let's go ahead and go for the other icon, which will be the Google Lens icon. We would want a transparent one, and let's yank this one. Okay, view the image and just take this and just paste it in here. Once we get the image.network, and I think this request, right? Cool. So let's go ahead and reload this, and whoops. Okay, so by default this picture is too large, so we'll wanna give it a height and a width, right, which is much less, so it doesn't take up this much space. It's not its original size. So 30 and the height of 40. Okay, let's reload this, and okay, there it is. Awesome. Now what we'll want to do is give this some padding, I would say, to the right. Okay, now a container comes with a padding, and this padding is given by something called edge insert dot only, and we want to give it only to the right side. Okay, so let's say of 15. So this number right here, again, this is the pixels. Okay, press R to reload, and okay, that looks good. And our icons so far, they look too close to each other, and now we'll want to give them some space. Okay, what we can do is change this to just give this some space between. Okay, give this some space between and reload it. And okay, there's too much, so let's go ahead and reduce the size of our container. Let's change it to 80 pixels wide. Okay, this looks acceptable, but just so, because we're perfectionists, we'll want to space it out a bit, and we can even remove this red color now and reload. Okay, good. So far so good. It's coming along so well. And right, so we have this part done right here. Okay,
hey there, how can I help?
and I don't know why Google Assistant turned on. I don't know. Okay, but right now this part may take quite a while, and we have 8 minutes remaining, so I'll go ahead and just do the circular image right here. Right, so at the moment our picture is round, it's squarish, our profile picture, which we put right here. Our image is square by default. Okay, it is square. So what we can do is just go over the bulb and say wrap it to the widget. Now the widget which you can use to make your things circular, to give them a radius, is called the clip rect. Okay, now this is, if you hover over it and read the little documentation it gives, that it creates a rounded rectangular clip. Right, whatever that means, we don't care. all we really care about is the border radius right here. Okay, so by default it's 0, which is why you don't really see it curved. So we'll go ahead and give it our own border radius, and dot circular, and our radius will be, we'll just give it a radius of 30. Okay, reload, and we can see that it is rounded, but then since we can't really see that, we can assume it is perfectly rounded, but I feel like it's not. We can give it 35 perhaps, and reload this. Okay, now this, to be fair, this looks much rounded, right? And let's take one more last look to our design, and it has some spacing. There's some spacing between the taskbar and, or the status bar, and our, there's some spacing between our status bar and our image, right? So what we can do is just above our image here and the status bar, we can go ahead and put a sized box in here and give it a height of maybe 10 pixels. Alright, let's go ahead and reload this, and okay, so far that is something, but let's change it maybe to 20 pixels. Okay, I can live with that. And let's just reduce the space between these two widgets right here, the image, these two images right here, the profile picture and the Google logo. Let's just maybe change this to 30 pixels. Okay, and there we are. So far so good, and that should be enough for the first part. I think it's close enough to this, I would say. And yeah, we can even start typing in here. Hello. Yeah, we can type in there, right? And how many lines of code is this? I don't know. It's around gosh, I don't know, but then it's not a lot. In around, I would say 50 lines of code, we're able to make this. Plus minus 50 minus lines of code, we're able to make this, right? And in case, let's say you don't want your background to be white, you can go ahead and change it in the scaffold. Okay, so you'll change the color, the background color, to, let's say we want it to be black, maybe you want it to be dark, right? You can reload it, and okay, then you'll have to change the color of the other things, but then certainly you can change your color, the color of your background, like that. And if you were to do this in CSS, I wish you all the best. But then yeah, essentially that should be it, I would say, for the first part. So I'll go ahead and give this a color of a gray color, and then give it a shade of 300. Okay, and what this is, okay, now this 300 looks a bit otherwise, so I'll change it to 200, which looks way much better. Right, yeah, that should mostly be it. And of course, if they were to click this image right here, you'd want something to happen. Now, how do you attach a click action or event whatsoever to something, to literally anything? Well, there's something called a gesture detector. Okay, gesture detector, and this has what we call an on tap event, or on tap thingy right here, and we'll just print out that you tapped the voice icon. Okay, put a semicolon, reload this, and now if we go ahead and click on this, you can see in the logs that it says you tapped on the voice icon, and then you can carry out some sort of event after that. Alright, yeah, that brings us to the end of this session, and perhaps in the following one we could finish this off, and hopefully we won't have technical difficulties again. Hopefully Flutter will behave next time. But yeah, I'll say this part will be the interesting bit. This is just the basics part of it, but this is the interesting part in it because there are more components involved here, such as how to handle this bit over here of text which is cutting out per se. Okay, right. Yeah, I thank you guys for coming out, and